Now at 9, we're tracking winter weather advisories for pretty much all the entire area until we go into Saturday evening. That's because rain chances kicking off tonight. We'll switch over to snow during the day tomorrow. We'll start diving into the forecast coming up.
Plus, Cox Hospital announces it'll be hiring students at its Southwest Missouri locations.
President Biden faced with a tough week. Now he's hoping to pivot to infrastructure, but will it be enough to keep Americans on his side? I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. The latest coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Abbey. We had fairly mild weather throughout the day, but the snow, it's coming. We go straight to meteorologist Nick Kelly. Nick.
And like you said, Jordan, it's kind of hard to believe that we've got snow on the way, given how we hit 56 for an afternoon high today. That is after a cold start right around 33 this morning. But winter weather advisories, pretty much the entire area has to put up with this until we go into our Saturday evening. For the time being, we just had a lot of cloud cover, some random areas of drizzle, sprinkles, maybe some light rain, but the rain's really picking up once you work northwest of Fort Scott, Pittsburgh, and Parsons. And look at the snow, as advertised, already trying to work into our far northwestern counties. That's because of the storm system on the way through. So let's get a first look at how the overnight will go. Doing a good job, the future track, showing where we are right now for the most part. Here we are at midnight. The snow will continue to unfold across the rest of southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. The Joplin Metro, temperature is warm enough to still deal with rain, but once we hit the 1 to 3 a.m. time frame, that's when the Joplin Metro will switch over to snow. And by the time we get towards sunrise Saturday morning, everybody's going to deal with on and off periods of light to moderate snow throughout the day. Jordan, we'll see when this will clear out and how much we can get before it all clears out coming up in a bit.
All right, Nick, thanks so much. Kansas State coroners working to identify human remains found in Coffeyville. On January 10th, the Coffeyville PD and the Kansas State Fire Marshal's Office were investigating a missing persons report at 301 West 3rd Street. That report was filed on January 5th. While there, they found the remains of a male, but were unable to identify the body because of its condition. Now, authorities are hoping the autopsy will give them a positive identification. Joplin police arrest a man who allegedly stole a safe from a hotel, 2 SUVs, and other items. Authorities say Adam GUSTAFSON stole the safe from the Town Place Suites. It was found by an employee of the nearby Cracker Barrel and reported it to police. Authorities also say he stole 2 2022 Hyundai Tucsons, 1 red, 1 black. He's being charged with first-degree burglary in Newton County, also stealing a motor vehicle in McDonald County. Cox Health is beefing up its workforce by opening positions for college and high school students. KOAM's Chris Warner has more on how they're making it work.
Lamar senior Jillian Humes is a student in the health occupations class at the Lamar Career and Technical Center. And she's got big plans for her future.
I plan to either pursue trauma, like in an ER or orthopedics.
Now, a new program from Cox Health could help her reach her dream.
This is an incredible opportunity for a student to apply their learning, not just what they're learning in a classroom, but to see it firsthand and to do it firsthand.
Cox Health is supplementing its workforce with college and high school students who are interested in a career in healthcare by allowing them to apply for various support positions in the hospitals, including Cox-Barton County.
This role gives prospective students or individuals who want to go into healthcare for a career kind of a jump start, if you will, to what that career could look like. It gets them some extra experience in a clinical setting.
They need help due to rising COVID cases in Southwest Missouri. For Humes, the pandemic doesn't scare her, it encourages her.
I definitely think it would give that more in-your-face type of experience, only because a pandemic is not something that we go through all the time, obviously. And I think it just shows what healthcare really is.
Safety is a top priority for the students, and they'll be required to go through the same orientation and safety training as any other employee. Humes is looking forward to the opportunity to serve her community now and grow her future.
When someone's in need, they're really in need, and it takes a very special person to work in trauma, and I hope that I can fill the shoes of someone that works in trauma now.
In Lamar, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
If you're interested in applying for one of the positions with Cox Health, check out the information in this story on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. As the Omicron variant continues its surge across the country, long lines at testing centers are just getting longer. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seary has more from Atlanta.
It is very important to know your COVID status and to take the proper precautions afterwards.
Demand for COVID-19 testing remaining high across the country as the Omicron variant continues to drive infection rates up. Long lines seen at testing centers, while in some states, mass testing sites are opening back up.
We want to make this available to people who have any reason to want to test, like if they have symptoms, if they have been around someone that they know was infected, or if they have any reason to believe so. Our goal is to make testing available widely to all.
The Biden administration announcing their own plans to help with demand, ordering 1 billion tests that are set to become available to Americans. The president saying a website will be launched later this month where Americans will be able to have the testing kits delivered to their homes for free.
This month, it's estimated that we will hit approximately 15 million tests a day, and we'll have over 375 million at-home rapid tests in January alone. That's a huge leap.
In addition to testing, President Biden also announcing that he's deploying military medical teams to 6 different states hit hard by staffing shortages at hospitals. This will be added to the more than 800 federal emergency personnel and 14,000 National Guard members already deployed throughout the country. President Biden also announcing U.S. insurers will be required to cover 8 over-the-counter tests each month for Americans. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
U.S. Department of Transportation today launched the Bridge Replacement, Rehabilitation, Preservation, Protection, and Construction Program. The program uses funds allocated by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Plan to repair bridges across the country. In the 4 states, Missouri is going to receive $484.3 million. Nearly $97 million will come this year to repair nearly 2,200 bridges in poor condition. Kansas set to receive $45 million this year, $225 million total for 1,300 bridges. And Oklahoma, with 2,300 poor condition bridges, is going to get $53.4 million this year and $266.9 million total. Well, the president is about to enter year 2 of his administration, but ahead of his Oval Office anniversary, he faced a challenging week, including several major setbacks. Fox's Lauren Blanchard has the latest now from Washington.
Some weeks are harder for a president than others. This was one of them.
Joe Biden's had a bad week, but the American people have had a much rougher year.
Tuesday, the president gave a fiery speech in Georgia on voting rights, but leading advocate Stacey Abrams didn't attend. Republicans called the speech divisive. Wednesday, a Quinnipiac poll showed only 1/3 of Americans approve of his job performance.
I think we could see him in the 20s at some point. That's how bad things are going to get.
That same day, economic data showed inflation rose in December at the fastest pace in 40 years.
Our focus is on what we can do to actually provide some relief to the principal costs that the American families are facing.
Thursday, members of his own party put the nail in the coffin on voting reform or a change to the filibuster by MLK Day.
He's going to stay at it. An agenda doesn't wrap up in 1 year.
And the Supreme Court halted his small business vaccine and testing mandate.
I think we're seeing the collapse of the Biden presidency.
Friday, the president worked to shift the focus, touting progress on the nation's infrastructure overhaul.
There's a lot of talk about disappointments and things we haven't gotten done. We're going to get a lot of them done, I might add. But this is something we did get done, and it's of enormous consequence to the country.
This coming Thursday marks 1 year in office for President Biden, but before on Wednesday, he'll hold a formal press conference. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another 4-state hero. Charles Kane served in the U.S. Army from 2003 to 2006. Native of Chinook, Kansas, Kane spent time in Iraq earning several awards and accomplishments. We are proud to thank and salute Captain Charles Kane, tonight's 4-state hero. Nick is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later in sports, it's playoff time for those Chiefs. Going to hear what the quarterbacks for the Chiefs and Steelers have in common.
After a pretty good day, at least temperature-wise, it's hard to believe that we're going to see snow working in over a matter of hours and certainly throughout the course of the overnight. Winter weather advisories for much of the area in the blue until we go into at least 9 o'clock into our Saturday night. So this is going to be a bit of a lengthy event, but it's one that we've been watching closely for the past few days. But it spent most of today A lot of snow working across the northern plains and the upper Midwest. Out ahead of it on the warm side of things, relatively warmer side of things, we have seen some areas, random areas of sprinkles, drizzle, maybe a few light showers earlier today. But we're now starting to see more consistent rain pick up across southeast Kansas, and you can easily tell the colder air already trying to filter into our far western counties, with the real brunt of the colder air just hopping over the Kansas Turnpike. That's going to be the overall trend as we continue throughout the course of the night. So all in all, it's just hard to believe that we're talking about snow chances given how we hit the lower 60s yesterday, but a cold start in the mid-30s this morning and mid-50s today. We're not going anywhere near those numbers for the next few days, certainly as the system rolls on through. But at least we still look okay from 7th and range line. We're at 49 in Joplin, cloudy skies up top, a northwest wind at 8, signaling at least a cold front has passed on through, so it won't be long before the much colder air follows suit. So you can clearly see 43 already in Yates Center. Ahead of the cold front, we are seeing upper 40s to near 50 across a good portion of the area. So out ahead of the cold front, mainly seeing some light rain trying to come on down, but definitely as the colder air works in, it's a quick switch over to snow. And this is going to be wet snow that will come down at a light to moderate clip overall as this overall storm system continues to sink south across the region, and the upper levels playing a role too, especially bringing in the colder air that'll stick with us tomorrow and for Sunday. So it's quite a shock to the system with the few mild days that we put up with, and now a cold days to wrap up the weekend. Here's where we'll be at midnight. Much of southeast Kansas seeing the rain switch over to snow. Still rain around the Joplin area with temperatures above freezing, but 1 to 3 a.m. going into Saturday morning, that's when the metro and areas along 69 and 49 will see the switch over to snow. Then everyone's pretty much dealing with snow, mainly light to moderate snow, maybe a couple of heavier bursts at times throughout Saturday morning, going into Saturday afternoon, especially as the backside of the system passes through. And we won't see anything calm on down until we get into the evening. So with all the clouds and the snow chances on the way, 30 in the morning, holding in the lower to middle 30s throughout the day at noon, and even during the afternoon. Then once we get past 6 or 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, the snow, it's out of here. Now, as far as what to expect, a dusting to an inch from Chanute Parsons points west. Let's say 1 to 2 inches in a thin band, that shade of blue. But along the 69 49 corridor in the Joplin area per se, 2 to 4 inches, and some of us could push close to, if not a little over 4 inches, depending on how heavy the snow can come on down. So needless to say, alert day out for tomorrow because of the snow on the way in, and temperatures only making it into the 30s tomorrow afternoon. Drying out Sunday, Jordan, with highs around 38, 44 Monday, 50s on Tuesday. Most of next week looking quiet once we get past this system.
Good day tomorrow to stay home and just watch that snowfall.
Or watch football, sticking with what Doug's been saying.
I'm going to watch the snow, though, Nick Kelly. Thank you so much. We'll see you in a little bit. Coming up, controversy at a Missouri school over a book being removed from lesson plans. Attendance at colleges across country continues to drop as the coronavirus pandemic affects going after a degree. A report by the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center says college enrollment has declined about 7% since the start of the pandemic and is down about 1 million students. Enrollment fell in each of the 5 largest undergraduate majors at four-year colleges. The greatest declines were in associate degrees. Only Arizona, Colorado, New Hampshire, and South Carolina saw increases. Wyoming, Vermont, and Delaware falling the steepest. Controversy in the Monette School District over the book Dear Martin covers race relations through the eyes of a young black teenager. The school decided to remove it from lesson plans, saying teachers didn't go through the right protocol, not because of the subject. Shoshana Stahl explains.
None of those lessons or activities that were planned with that book had been looked at by anybody else, so we just want to make sure that they meet the standards that we're supposed to be teaching in English language arts.
Superintendent Mark Drake says any curriculum changes need to have input from teachers and administrators. Drake says the permission slip for the Dear Martin assignments had some concerning language.
The most concerning point of the permission form was that if their students chose not to read that book, they took it as the student was going to get more work in it and that it was going to be potentially harder.
But for parent Susie Gonzalez, she's concerned that the book won't be taught in school.
I just think it's important for this community to know that there are issues, that this does happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen to your kid, but it has happened to my kid. And it is very important for the community to know that this can be an issue and it should be addressed to the kids in their proper setting.
Gonzalez says for her son, he felt a personal connection to this book and was upset when the district pulled it.
His peers in his class started telling him that racism didn't exist, that there was nothing such as that to happen, and he was just talking about his personal experience, what he has dealt with in a personal level. And he had to excuse himself from the class and ask to be excused from there because he felt like he was being bullied by his peers.
Monette's superintendent says the district is now putting together a book review committee consisting of teachers, administrators, and parents to give community feedback. Still ahead, another flight planned for the history books.
One teenager is gearing up to make history. I'm Ashley Strohmeyer with a look at one female pilot's mission to fly around the world coming up.
Flying around the world isn't something most teenagers can say they've ever done, right? Fox News correspondent Ashley Strohmeyer has more on the brave young woman looking to break a world record as she aims to become the youngest female to fly solo around the earth.
It's a dream I've had my entire life.
One teenager is soaring to new heights and preparing to not only fulfill her dreams, but also break records. 19-year-old Zara Rutherford is expected to become the youngest female in history to fly a solo trip around the world. She's set to earn the title Monday when she plans to land her plane in her native country of Belgium, where her journey first began back in August. If all goes well, she'll have flown 32,000 miles, covering 5 continents and 52 countries. In order for her trip to qualify as a flight around the world, Rutherford needed to reach 2 countries on opposite sides of the planet, choosing Colombia and Indonesia. It may seem like a daunting task to most people, but some say flying is in her blood. Both of Rutherford's parents are also pilots and encouraged her to pursue her passion.
This crazy idea, I always thought it would be impossible. But then I decided, if I don't tell anyone about it, then it's never going to happen. So I told my parents, and straight away they're like, yes, let's do this.
But this mission isn't just for Rutherford, who says she hopes to encourage the next generation of girls to take to the sky.
I'm hoping to encourage girls and women to hopefully also go into aviation and STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Rutherford will soon trade in her plane for textbooks. She's preparing to start college this year and dreams of one day becoming an astronaut. Ashley Strohmeyer, Fox News.
Up next, what a new study shows about how exercise affects anxiety. A study reveals that exercise helps tame anxiety. The study, reported on in the New York Times, says that physical activity reduces the risks of developing clinical anxiety in half. The researchers from Sweden looked at skiing in particular, but found any exercise really can also help decrease your likelihood of having excessive worry or dread. They also found physical activity increases heart health, longevity, and reduces cancer risks. So overall, awesome, right? Exercise is awesome. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming your way.
Economic Security says many local Head Start facilities are struggling to fill seats. I'm Kate Kelly with the reason behind these unprecedented student vacancies.
Well, it's an early celebration of Martin Luther King Jr., reminding people of his devotion and sacrifice. The Economic Security Corporation reports that its local Head Start and early Head Start facilities are seeing record high numbers on wait lists, families that would enroll their child in these programs if they met the income guidelines. KOAM's Kate Kelly tells us more about the struggle many parents are facing.
This has never been an issue before. We've never had a struggle finding income eligible families to serve.
Early Head Start and Head Start facilities across the country are experiencing all-time high wait lists. In this area, 267 families are currently over income, making more than $26,500 per year. That's a problem for parents like Tasha Lewis.
I'm over income, so he will still be on the waiting list, but if lower income families enroll, then they will go in front of him.
This is a problem Amy Schmidt is seeing again and again.
We have families who qualified for early Head Start for their child birth to 3 years old. When that child turns 3, they're eligible to transition to Head Start. But at that time, we have to re-verify their income. And what we find is, not always, but we have had quite a few families who then did not qualify.
Wage increases are pushing many families into this situation, but inflation isn't helping. Even with her raise and working a second job, Lewis is struggling to come up with a plan B for childcare.
A lot of places are full right now, or there's a lot of sickness going around. So we found one lady, but she wants $150 a week, which I know doesn't seem like a lot to some people, but $150 a week is a lot to us.
While she waits, Lewis is trying to decide if she should continue working or quit her job to stay home with her child. Schmidt is afraid more families will succumb to the latter, missing out on valuable time in the classroom.
We know that the early brain development and social emotional development that happens within that first 5 years, it only happens once for that child. And so missing those opportunities, it's not something we want to see happening in our community. We want to see services received by families.
In Joplin, Kate Kelly, KOAM News.
In the interest of full disclosure, we do want to point out that Kate Kelly serves on the Board of Economic Security. Head Start is permitted to select up to 10% of families who are on a waiting list, but that only adds up to 55 slots for this area, and most of those have already been taken. The National Head Start Association is working to make changes to income guidelines. You can read more about that or apply for Head Start by finding this article on our website. Again, that's KOAMnewsnow.com. Fort Scott Area Chamber of Commerce and the Gordon Parks Museum celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day early today, reminding people why they're about to get a 3-day weekend. People could stop by, enjoy some lunch, and a reading of MLK Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech.
I feel like a lot of the things from the speech are still very relevant today with just our current political climate in general, and I hope that they take away the things he was trying to communicate back then still, because they still apply. You can't go out and try to fight hate with more hate and expect better results.
Martin Luther King Jr. Day is this coming Monday. Well, a female Walmart driver is suing the company for discrimination over issued work clothes not fitting right for women. Diana Webb alleges her issued work uniform doesn't fit women right, with pants and shorts in men's sizes and designs. Her lawsuit says Walmart delivery drivers must wear a uniform or face termination. The suit is filed on behalf of Walmart women drivers across the country and seeks damages, court costs, and reimbursement for other purchased uniforms. Tennis champion Novak Djokovic facing deportation from Australia after officials there revoked his visa for a second time. Australia's immigration minister today canceled the visa on the basis that it was in the public interest to do so. But in an emergency court hearing, a judge delayed the deportation at least until a new hearing is held on Sunday. That's just one day before the Australian Open begins. Djokovic's lawyers are challenging the visa decision that they say is irrational. The fallout from Prince Andrew's sexual abuse lawsuit continues. He's now going to defend his case as a private citizen. Fox News correspondent Alex Hogan has more.
Can I ask your view on your brother's position, Prince Andrew?
Britain's Prince Charles declined to answer questions about his brother Prince Andrew on Friday. Andrew was stripped of all his royal patronages and military affiliations this week as he battles sexual abuse allegations. The decision came with Queen Elizabeth's approval, but royal historian Penny Junor says it should have happened earlier.
The fact that she was allowing him to hang on to them and he was not offering his resignation, I think was beginning to tarnish the Queen herself.
Andrew's former roles have been handed back to the Queen. He will also no longer use the title His Royal Highness in any official capacity.
We will never see him in public life again, and this is humiliation par excellence for Prince Andrew.
On Wednesday, a New York judge rejected Andrew's bid to dismiss a lawsuit brought by Virginia Giuffre, alleging that he sexually abused her when she was just 17. His attorneys argued a previously signed deal between Giuffre and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein means she cannot sue Andrew. She had agreed to end legal action against anyone who could be described as a potential defendant. Buckingham Palace says Andrew will defend this case as a private citizen.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there had been a different outcome in terms of what we've just seen if the judge had ruled in his favor.
Prince Andrew denies these accusations against him and has not been charged with a crime. In London, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
A bit later, filling those worker gaps.
For a growing number of businesses, robots are the key to solving hiring woes. I'm Kevin Cork with a look at some groundbreaking technology. That's coming right up.
It's a little bit mind-boggling still that we went from a few mild days, relatively speaking, across the area to now winter ready to kick back into gear tonight and through our Saturday. Winter weather advisories in the blue. Pretty much everybody until we hit about 9 o'clock. That's when most of these advisories will expire, but we can actually see our next storm system already working in from the north. We can actually see how the snow is managing to find its way out across Minnesota, Iowa, and now our portion of the snow, first of it at least, beginning to build across central parts of Kansas and hopping over to Turnpike. In fact, let's stop the radar for a moment and zoom in for a tighter look. You can see how much of the area in southeast Kansas is picking up light rain at this time. But once you hit about Burlington, almost the Yates Center, back toward Eureka and Howard, that is where we're starting to see light to moderate snow, maybe a few heavy pockets as well, start to switch over. So that is what's going to be unfolding for the entire area as we go through the overnight. But still worth noting that with snow on the way, still mind-boggling that we hit the 60s the other day, lower 60s, and then mid-50s this afternoon. Quite a 7th range line, maybe a few random spots of a drizzle or some sprinkles out there. Otherwise, we're at 49 in Joplin, northwest wind at 8, and that humidity is climbing up at 66%. More moisture being pulled in as this storm system begins to work on top of the region. In fact, you can even see the cold front itself beginning to work on its way through. Lower 40s already in Yates Center. Most of us, though, trying to hold on to the upper 40s to near 50. That's why we kept things primarily as sprinkles, drizzle, or a few light showers throughout much of this evening. But as we continue to see this storm system work on through at the surface and with this upper level low upstairs passing by as well, that is ready to really switch things over to snow. So here we are at 10 o'clock. The future track not doing a good job picking up on what's happening already. But once we hit the midnight hour, I think much of southeast Kansas and a good portion of northeast Oklahoma starting to switch things over to snow. We'll give it about 1 to 3 a.m. That's the general time frame for the Joplin Metro and areas along 69 and 49 to start switching over to snow. Then 6 a.m. through Saturday morning, excuse me, and into tomorrow afternoon. That is where we're going to see the periods of light to moderate snow and even some pockets of a heavy snow at times really come on down and really have an impact on temperatures. Forget about the 50s or 60s we saw today. 30 in the morning, excuse me again, low to mid 30s throughout the course of the day. Now, as far as expected amounts, we may actually have to up this a little bit. I just spoke with Doug not too long ago, but still want to say dusting to an inch in our far western counties, 1 to 2 inches in this thin blue band. But for areas that can see 2 to 4 inches in general, there could be some isolated spots where we may push up to 6 inches of snow before this system completely clears out. Once we do get the system out of here, we will dry things out for Sunday, but stay cold as well, with temperatures around 38 degrees for a high. Let's go 44 Monday, 54 Tuesday, dry to start next week out. Then maybe a few showers to watch Wednesday and Thursday, Jordan, but the big game in town will be the snow on the way in.
Don't say another word, just drink that water that
I know, it's just a tickle in the throat, that's all it is, but much appreciated.
It's Friday, and the voice is telling you it's Friday, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Nick Kelly, thank you so much. All right, coming up in sports, the Webb City Boys hosting Ozark for their COC home opener, plus Carl Junction aiming for their 4th straight win. Danny Terzer has the highlights next.
The
Carl Junction girls have earned a 10-3 record through the first 2 months of the season, and they're ranked 5th in the state. CJ looking for their 4th straight win against a 7-4 Republic team. Slow start for the Bulldogs. Destiny Berge gets the nice layup. She scores all 8 of her team's points in the first, but they trail. Then Chloe Burke puts one in, bucket for 2. But the Tigers still with the lead. Mia Nambara adds 3. And just before the half, Berge bucket and foul, 31 points for her. It's a 1-point game at the break. In the third, Kylie Scott snags the rebound, puts it back in. She finishes with 8. But a big fourth quarter allows Republic to pull away. Carl Junction falls tonight 52-43. The Webb City Cardinals face Ozark this evening for their COC home opener. Ozark squeezed out the win 80-75. Trey Rotes drops a team-high 25. Dante Washington follows with 19 points. Max Higginbotham also in double digits, and Cole Vaden finishes with 9 points and 8 assists. The Kansas City Chiefs kick off the postseason in the AFC wildcard round against the Steelers. Less than a month ago, the Chiefs dominated the Steelers at home 36-10. They'll look to do that again this Sunday. And as always, we'll hear from the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holtis, on this week's Minute with Mitch.
The longtime NFL adage is there's preseason speed, regular season speed, and then there's playoff speed. That credo makes Patrick Mahomes' early accomplishments even more impressive. Now kudos to Chiefs reporter Matt McMullen for this nugget. This Sunday night will be Patrick Mahomes' 9th playoff game. He has 6 wins in those 8 previous contests. But those 9 starts by Mahomes will be the second most in the Super Bowl era for a quarterback under the age of 27. Only one other quarterback has eclipsed Patrick's number. It's this week's opposing quarterback. Yep, Big Ben Roethlisberger had 10 playoff starts before his 27th birthday. It kind of makes me wonder what we'll be saying about Patrick 13 seasons from now in his 18th year like Big Ben on this Minute with Mitch. The Minute with Mitch is brought to you by Como Jewelry. Every day's game day, Como Jewelry, Pittsburgh, Joplin.
The Chiefs and Steelers kick things off in Arrowhead at 7:15 on Sunday. Kansas City is 12.5-point favorites. I'm back with more news after this.
Has pulled back on shopping during the end of the holiday season. Retail sales declined 1.9% in December. Excluding autos, the decline was 2.7%. Automakers are still having a hard time getting enough cars to customers because of the shortage of chips and other parts. Economists were expecting a decline because holiday shopping started so early, and also because retailers were dealing with supply chain issues and staffing shortages. The number includes sales at retail stores, online vendors, and restaurants. You ever get the feeling that someone is looking over your shoulder? Freaky. Pandemic-related labor shortages are persisting, forcing countless businesses to turn to robots when a human-based workforce is proving unpredictable. Fox News correspondent Kevin Cork has a look at some of these futuristic inventions.
The pandemic is contributing to the rise of robots, with more businesses turning to special gadgets to take the place of employees reluctant to return to the workforce. Italian eatery Trattoria by Chef Mark is proving its robot server can blend seamlessly into the restaurant, while also attracting customers eager to catch a glimpse of this futuristic dining experience.
If you haven't been here before and you see that surprised look, especially the young ones, they get a real kick out of it when the robot comes to their table.
Meanwhile, the company Serve Robotics is launching new bots to help carry out orders for Uber Eats.
You place your order on Uber Eats. When it arrives, you enter your code and you unlock and grab your food.
And these little guys really pack a punch, armed with advanced automated technology that allows them to avoid safety hazards while performing a task.
They have safety capabilities like detecting an unattentive driver that enables the robots is to stay safe without humans having to be in the loop.
And where robots don't need to be paid, don't expect tips, and won't call out sick, Serve robots also come with the added bonus of producing zero emissions, making them environmentally friendly. Officials at Serve say there's currently demand for hundreds of thousands of their robots, which is obviously at this point more than they can make. But it's also a sign that robot workers are definitely here to stay. I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
Coming up, Denzel Washington talking some Shakespeare and the new Macbeth adaptation. It's a classic retold from stage to screen with a star-studded cast as the tragedy of Macbeth is both in theaters and at home this week. We talked to Denzel Washington all about it and more. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
Is this a dagger which I see before me?
Oscar and Tony-winning actor and director Denzel Washington stars in Joel Coen's retelling of the tragedy of Macbeth.
Even for you, is there a unique challenge in Shakespeare? Is that part of the appeal?
Yeah, it's unknown. You got to figure it out. No matter, it's not like Shakespeare goes, "Oh, you're Denzel. Oh, don't worry, you don't have to do anything. You just be Denzel and you'll be fine." You'll get exposed. It's verbal gymnastics.
Washington shared where he finds most creativity now.
People ask me, what's your favorite film? I usually say my next one because that's the joy in it, is the figuring it out. Once it's made, it's over. It belongs to the people, and where's the next challenge?
He also reflected on his start on stage.
I was so green. I mean, I used to look out and count who was in the audience and see if my friends were out there and that kind of stuff. I was just like suddenly thrust into this acting job and something that I found that I was pretty good at.
Oscar winner Frances McDormand, Corey Hawkins, and Alex Hassel co-star in the cast, which they say felt like a theater group.
We got to rehearse for 3 weeks in a rehearsal room with like the set taped out on the floor and everything. We shared ideas about maybe, what would be going on or what lines might mean.
All these old backdrops from old movies hanging up and the wood boards were all cut up and beat up. It felt like a theatrical process, and that was magical because we got to translate that onto film.
I am sick at heart when I behold Satan, I say!
The Tragedy of Macbeth is in select theaters and on Apple TV+. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
I like that quote. Once a movie is made, it belongs to the people. That's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Going to leave you with video of an endangered tiger cub taking a field trip outside at the London Zoo. Be safe. Have a great weekend. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.